welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to support my daily Eternal Magic offerings while getting amazing perks like the BoshNRoll Discord community, have me play your deck on the channel, or listen sideboard guides before tournaments, check out the Patreon or YouTube membership program. This channel is possible because of these amazing sponsors. Check them out, all their links are in the video description. As always, thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic.
Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Modern, and this video is brought to you by cardtrader.com, and I'm playing Dimir Oculus. Abhorrent Oculus is from the newest set, Duskmourn. Insane stats on this thing: 3 mana, 5/5 flyer. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, manifest Dread, and manifesting Dread is looking at the top 2 cards of your library. One goes to the graveyard, one goes into play face down as a 2/2, and you can flip it up for its mana cost if it's a creature. As an additional cost to cast this, exile 6 cards from your graveyard. So this is a 3-drop, but unless your deck is hyper-focused on self-mill, you're unlikely to have 6 cards in your graveyard by turn 3. That's the push and pull on a card like this. However, Thoughtscour puts 3 cards directly into your graveyard. Fetchlands put cards into your graveyard just as you're naturally playing the game. So a Thoughtscour plus 3 Fetchlands is 6 cards in your graveyard on turn 3. Consider is 2 cards into the graveyard. There's a lot of ways for this deck, the way it's constructed, to get enough cards to cast an Oculus on time. There's also Unearth. 4 copies of this one. Return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oculus, this is a cost when you cast it. It doesn't care if you cheat it into play. Thought scouring or considering away an Oculus, then unearthing it back into play into turn 2. 5/5 flyer that cranks out more friends immediately on turn 2. That's the deck's nut draw. And you've basically traded this package, the Thoughtscour, Abhorrent Oculus, Unearth, in the Dimir Frogtide package for stability and interaction from the Dimir Frogtide deck. Cards like Subtlety or Thoughtseize that might be in your main deck, a higher concentration of force negations. You trade that for the ability to just wing something stupid into play. The Murktide deck has been a staple in Modern for as long as we've had Murktide Regent. Murktide Regent, Counterspell, some supporting threats. It used to be Dragon's Rage Channel and Ragavan. Now it's Psychic Frog and Orcish Bowmaster. But this is a pretty classic tempo control deck. I have played traditional Frogtide on the channel. I believe I trophied that league if you want to go check it out. I've been playing Frogtide in my paper Modern tournaments ever since Nadu got banned. But I have an event coming up this weekend, which will be last weekend by the time you're all seeing this, the Apex Invitational, which is a 20K Modern event with, it looks like there's going to be about 75 people in it. So it's a small tournament with a huge prize pool. And I want to explore this Oculus build before I commit to that tournament, because that would be a nice one to win. This archetype is cheap, blue and black interactive spells, creatures that draw cards, and this build trades stability for a nut draw that the other deck doesn't have. And let's see how this feels. This is Dimir Oculus from cardtrader.com.
Building a TCG deck is an opportunity to express yourself. Do you like alternate print styles, cards in a specific language, fancy foils, or a combination of cool factors? Put the world at your fingertips while you look for exactly the card you want. Apply search filters to find what you're looking for from all over the world. Maybe that rare Japanese foil you're chasing is available in Germany. Don't worry about international shipping with cardtrader.com's CardTrader Zero service. CardTrader functions as your personal P.O. box, collecting orders from sellers worldwide to send you one affordable package. Easily connect with buyers and sellers worldwide on cardtrader.com. Use code BoshNRoll for 5% off your first order.
I'm on the draw in round 1. I do not have the nut draw, but I would keep this hand if I was not an Oculus build. Zapping in Soporific. Oh, there's a whole extra syllable in that word. I've never read the name of this card before. Soporific Springs for Tamiyo. And I'm suddenly glad I have this Fatal Push. Okay, there's an Oculus. I will not be fetching the Basic Swamp. The Basic Swamp is pretty much only in the deck because you also have Harbinger of the Seas, and cards like Blood Moon are in the format, but you're pretty much a mono blue deck and don't want to see that shit. Okay. Urza Saga, Aether Spellbomb, after a Tameo. I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what's going on right now. There's the basic swap you never want to see. I am quite certain that I'm not set up to deal with a parade of constructs right now, so that's dangerous. They do have land number 3. Is this some kind of Urza deck? I'd be so excited. I love Urza. I am going to fetch Undercity Sewers. Bloodstained Mire to the graveyard. And despite not starting with a cantrip, I actually could have 5 cards in my graveyard here, where just one more spell somewhere would have been Oculus on time. So that's pretty interesting. Little shout out to the deck here. I think I should Thought Scour myself now, just in case I hit an Oculus or Harbinger. Harbinger would solve this. Scour myself. Okay. I hit an Orcish Bowmaster. I could unearth that and just have it in play. I don't need to do that, though. I give up on Counterspell if I'm doing that. Yeah, that would have been a sick turn to hit Harbinger of the Tides on the Unearth. The opponent does have Metalcraft because there's a construct at play. I guess I could have booped that. But I will kill this one now. If they're tapping out to make a construct, I don't think they're going to like slam Urza or something this turn. Them getting some like Nile Spellbomb or Soul Guide Lantern here would actually be pretty annoying. Aether Spellbomb's really annoying too, because that just returns the Oculus that it cost me 5 cards to cast in the first place. Okay, how do I want to do this? I think I want to fetch for the Undercity Sewers first, because there are some high rolls I could hit. Spellsir is not one of them. Okay. They don't have blue mana up right now, which means I'll at least get to Manifest Dread in their upkeep before they can bounce this. These, unfortunately, are not actually the spells that they are. I'm going to Manifest Fatal Push. In case they decide to bounce my Manifest, that's the card I'd rather have in my hand. We're just operating on the fringes here. Mostly, I assume those cards are gone. And no attack. They had Make a Construct. They also had Equip Shadow Spear and decided not to do either one. I'm going to attack with my Oculus. They'll probably just take 5 and then easily turn it around on me here. I'm out of ways to sneak creatures into my graveyard. I could cycle Unearth and look for some piece of interaction. What am I even looking for here? It's like another Oculus, Harbinger of the Seas, Psychic Frog, Fatal Push. Yeah, this double Saga start really good against any control deck. I could just commit to the Bowmaster, get that back into play, but that's not doing anything. I'm going to cycle Unearth, but I'm going to fetch first. There's another basic island I can get. Water Grave, okay. Handful of counterspells versus an opponent who is not casting any spells. They haven't cast a spell since the Tameo. Oh, they didn't bounce. Yeah, I guess letting me Manifest Dread is worth getting the bigger constructs. Shouldn't be that surprised. Consider and consider are the two things here. Looks like they've had enough constructing and they're going to start beating. Mox Amber, or we might just pivot into a combo of some kind. What's going on here? Emery. Probably should have countered that. I was just busy narrating. What the fuck? Whoops. Paradox Engine. Okay. I see what's going on here. Okay, they have a 7/7 lifelink. The Shadow Spear is a massive problem. I will chump the thing I can chump. Yeah, them having the biggest creature, and it also has lifelink, is not good for my big creature deck. Oculus, get in. They could bounce this if they want. They could bounce whatever. The Mox Amber is blue mana right now. And this Counterspell's just in my hand. Just busy trying to figure out what their deck is and forgot to cast my spell. And this Aether Spellbomb is kind of a checkmate. Oh, they're just still not interested in using it, though. Okay. This is one of the cool tricks the deck has. Oculus can manifest another Oculus, and then it's just in play. You can flip it up. Oculus is not how I'm winning this game, though. But is Orcish Bowmaster any better? I will put Bowmaster into play. It's possible they draw cards this turn. Like if they do something like, I don't know, cast Lorien Revealed. Or start looping some card draw thing. Sack this Aether Spellbomb maybe to draw a card. Prototype's in. And this is a nightmare because the Spellbomb has me checkmated with the Trample. I have to make horrible blocks I'm not happy with. Oh wait, if they bounce this... No. Remember what I said all those turns ago? That maybe they'll bounce this? Okay. Suddenly, That's really interesting. Am I more interested in having Psychic Frog or Orcish Bowmaster in play? Probably Psychic Frog. It's just that kind of emergency. All right. If they don't take any action here, I just go to 1. If they do bounce this creature, it's Fatal Push, and I can push their thing. Looks like they're just passing priority, though. Good call. Why do anything? Now they're bombing my frog. Emery's targeting the spell bomb. I'm going to force of negation this. Get it out of the mix completely. I got a lot of work to do here, but Fatal Push will go a long way towards turning this game around. Consider. Find a Fatal Push. Counterspell, not interested. Thought Scour, let's go again. Force of negation. All right, I am just deceased. Okay. Streamer brain let this Emery through, but I was losing to this other stuff anyway. That was really cool, though, the power level of the Oculus, especially when it flipped the other Oculus, giving that an option. Harbinger is my best answer to an Urza Saga. Trespasser. We saw Emery. Emery loops are a thing they can do. They appear to be a mono blue deck. Mystical Dispute sounds good there. Consigned to Memory can neutralize chapters of an Urza Saga. Like, you can't counter Urza Saga, it's a land, but you can counter the chapter triggers, and so it can't make constructs or it doesn't get a tutor at the end are both useful things. And if they are a Paradox Engine combo deck, some number of consign seems correct. Thoughtseize too? Oh my goodness. What's going on here? Where do I find room for all these things? I didn't really see targets for Spell Snare. The counterspells got pretty bad for a while there, but I guess I'm upgrading them to consigns, Thoughtseizes, and disputes, so shaving counterspell isn't that bad. Murktide is just kind of a big dummy to win at the end, but if we're getting comboed out, a big dummy's not what we need. I think I can shave Unearth and play more fairly. How good is Bowmaster? And if I cut too many threats, then the deck just doesn't work, but I am bringing in 3 things with power and toughness, so I'm washing out some of the threats that I'm cutting with just different things. I like the push. I like some density of counterspells. Maybe I don't need 3 Harbingers. I don't need to treat this like Eldrazi, but Urza Saga is a big problem. But now I have the consigns to help with that a little bit. Yeah, maybe I'll shave another Force of Negation. I don't really want to be Toxic Deluging. I brought in all these other ways to tangle with the constructs. I can keep this. 3 lands, a bunch of interaction, and Graveyard Hate. This hand answers Tamiyo and Emery. Moonsnare Prototype, you got it. Mox Amber. A little awkward with the fetch land because now I don't answer Emery reliably, but I do still want to get the selection. I'll keep Thought Scour. This could do something like mill over Oculus and draw Unearth. It flipped Unearth and Counterspell. I'm going to play Polluted Delta because this turns on Fatal Push. And now I get to keep Sync as a spell. Okay, Land Pass was their play. I'm going to get my other sewer. Oculus. There are 5 cards in the graveyard. Is Trespasser optional? Up to 1 target card. It is optional. Zap in Watery Grave. I'm going to play Trespasser. I'm going to leave my graveyard alone. This has Ward discard a card. If they go after it on their turn, they have to discard a card, and then I have Force to protect afterwards. Urza. Well, can't Force a negation that. Might be able to Fatal Push it next turn, though. Come on, fetch land. Unearth. Sad. Yeah, I can push the construct. Urza's obviously horrifying. If I push the construct, and I could push the construct, then play Oculus. I'm not mega stoked about this. My shields are down against a combo deck, but I have a lot of power on board. Psychic Frog manifested. Let's see if they can go off right now somehow. Manamo. That's really good with the One Ring. And there it is. And me without a blue card in my hand because I played the Oculus. I don't regret playing Oculus. This is going to be a tight one. Yeah, they're ringing again. I could consider now, or I could, if I don't cast a spell, Trespasser flips, but I don't think I care about that. Yeah, I'm going to consider. I will leave that on top because that gives me Fatal Push. I'll get Basic Island and kill Urza. Force of Negation. I'll force you back. This does leave me tapped out and basically hellbent going into their turn. Ouch, they had another one. Okay. Massive exchange. Basically undid all the cards that the ring just drew, but it'll draw them back. I know this doesn't do damage, but I'm just exiling some cards from their graveyard. If they don't combo me out this turn, I don't know what their deck's doing. Harbinger of the Seas. I basically don't even want that in play, but it can be a face down 2/2. Okay, I'm just F6 from here. There's nothing I can do in Modern with one card in my hand. I guess I could represent like Surgical or Fairy Macabre, but that's not a card that would be in my deck. Bonus deck is awesome. Doing ring stuff, 10 cards in hand. Emery. Hit Pithing Needle in terms of artifacts to recur. Prototype. Soul Guide Lantern. I've already done what I need to do out of the graveyard, I think. Murktides are out of the deck. Oculus is already in play. Okay, they're eating their own Tameo, so I can't gain a life. Cool. There's another Tameo in there. Shadow Spear. Glad I dealt with that construct when I could. Another One Ring. Fresh ring coming in here. Gross. I saw a post today from Jim Davis that the One Ring has officially surpassed 50% meta share in this format. So shout out to the One Ring. Preposterous Magic card. Okay, do they have a mana right now? Because Soul Guide Lantern, you have to tap that. You have to tap that to exile. All right, so Unearth is live. I would like my Oculus back. Force of Negation, chill. All right, well, I guess I'll sink that into Stupor. Which is funny because if their hand is a blue card, I just didn't even do anything. Cool, it's not a blue card. They have a Force of Negation in their hand. All right, this Trespasser is going to exile this One Ring. I don't want to be in the soft lock of them looping that shit. Oculus, Abhor. It counterspells a creature now. And I am F6'd. And this is the scary part about decks like this in all non-rotating formats, these artifact engine decks with Urza Saga. Game 1, they just played 2 Urza Sagas and I died, and they basically didn't do anything else. And this game, I have Harbinger of the Seas, I had the double Fatal Push start, I had a clock that could keep up with Urza Saga, and they just played 4 basic lands, resolved Urza Lord High Artificer, no Urza Saga Insight. And that is the onus of these Dimir decks. Okay, am I just dead? I think so. Yeah, they're positive mana. Okay, they can draw their deck here. The onus of these Dimir control decks is you have to line up and sequence correctly your counter spells, removal spells, and threats. Like if you blink, if you're just like, I'd like an Oculus in play, and then that turn the opponent resolves a One Ring, you are probably dead because it's really hard to catch up. You have all the tools to play kind of a elegant back and forth traditional game of Magic, but Modern is frequently not about traditional Magic right now, especially with the One Ring in 53% of decks. Everyone has some bullshit button. And maybe what that means here is I should have brought in all my consigns and read that they're a One Ring deck. Probably should have done that. That game 1 where I wanted, or no, it was this game where I wanted Oculus in play and gave up on my Force, and then they resolved One Ring on that turn. That's probably a mistake. You just have to be super tight, and I wasn't. But one thing I will say about this build compared to traditional Murktide is if your job is to be super tight and you're not really the nutty BS deck, then giving up cards like Thoughtseize, Subtlety, and Force of Negation in the main to get a nutty BS start in the pool might just be a mistake in deck building. I don't know. That's what we're here to learn. On to the next round.
This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks, and groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there.
I'm on the play in round number 2. My hand has a nice little curve out of things. Let's do it. I'm just going to Island Pass. Arid Mesa, but no companion. Consider. Unearth. This is the opposite order these are supposed to be in. I'm gonna bin the Unearth. There's that basic swamp again, causing trouble. I guess I'm happy to see it because the Harbinger of the Seas is in my hand. Probably reasonable, but it did make me shock this in so I could counterspell this turn. Hopefully we see some non-basics though, and I could counter whatever they do this turn, slam a main deck Blood Moon, and off we go. Fingers crossed. Prismatic Ending. Okay, so this might be Jeskai Control, which is a deck that can function through Blood Moon if it plans ahead for it. Okay. I'm going to go for the end step Bowmaster here, and they might Spell Snare, they might Stern Scolding, they might kill it some other way. I'm mostly just testing their interaction. They didn't have any of those. We'll see if they have Spell Pierce now. And I'm just going to attack first. Oh, Spell Pierce doesn't matter. Harbinger's a creature too. Never mind. I said Blood Moon as a shortcut, but it's literally not that. It is something far better. Yeah, okay. Nice. That's why we main deck Blood Moon effects. Okay, this is some sort of Jeskai control strategy. I see Mystical Dispute in my sideboard. Thoughtseize probably good here. I could stuff a third Harbinger, though getting them with it game one makes it less good. Jeskai is built around Flage, where Trespasser could be solid. These are just cards I'm considering. And Force of Negation is another answer to the ring. I think I'm going to back off of Unearth a bit. I don't want to expose myself to graveyard hate more than I need to. And just kind of playing fair Magic in this matchup is good enough. You don't really need to high roll. Maybe I just cut all the Unearths. Leaving a push in case I need to clear something like a Flage that ends up in play. I like Bowmaster, I like my counter spells. I'm adding some more threats to the deck to replace the Unearths. Okay, I'll try it like this. They're probably a one-ring deck, but I don't think I want Consign just for one ring when I have 7 other counter spells in. Sweet. Thoughtseize into Psychic Frog. Elegant Parlor. Kept a card. Okay, I'll just take the max here to poke a hole. Teferi, Spell Snare, Prismatic Ending. Okay, so multiple answers to Psychic Frog across the board here. Spell Snare is the best of them. There's the Mesa. Oh, another Thoughtseize. Okay, well that's really interesting because my plan was to stick Frog and force their follow-up, but now I can spend multiple turns sculpting here. I'm going to Thoughtseize before I play my land drop. So they kept a land on top, and these are just the same spells again. I think I take Solitude, Mystical Dispute the Teferi this turn, and then I could force the Prismatic Ending down the road. I just can't force Solitude is the problem. Yeah, I'm going to take Solitude and play Otawara. The basic land is what they kept on top with the Surveil, just planning for my barrage of merfolks. And Minamo in the deck, clearly. The only reason to play that card is the One Ring. There's the Teferi. Just how he drew it up. And now can Psychic Frog win this game on its own? Sewer. I don't want another land. Here we go. Frog with the intention of forcing the ending. I'll probably force pitching Thought Scour so then I can untap with Hardcast Force and get at least 2 hits with Frog through. If they drew a counterspell or a second removal spell, obviously this all falls apart, and then my hand is garbage. Tempo Gaming. It's everything I knew about. And they have passed the turn. Ooh, Trespasser. I don't think that card matters very much right now. I didn't draw a blue card. I think I'd rather just pass with Frog active than try to do anything crazy here. Because this is, like I was talking about at the end of last game, this is a spot where, okay, they're just getting soloed by Frog and had enough. This is a spot where if I do something like try to push damage with Graveyard Trespasser and they stick a One Ring this turn with Minamo active, I could just lose. Oh, this is me being cautious, leaving up the force. And they've had enough. Psychic Frog Gaming, let's go.
The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables.
Good. All right, here we go, gang.
In this YouTube series, hosts Cedric Phillips and Patrick Sullivan take us on a set-by-set journey through the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a focused deep dive into the facts about a set's design and release, the Magic lore expressed through the cards in that set, Tournament Edition gameplay videos featuring products and Pro Tour decks of the era, an award show that shouts out the best and weirdest cards of the set, and a final grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Receivables has it at youtube.com/thereceivables.
I'm on the play for round 3 with the Mono Idiot's hand. I'm going to try this in Legacy tempo decks, and this isn't quite a tempo deck. Maybe the inclusion of Oculus and Unearth makes it more tempo-y than normal Frogtide would be. I consider it more on the control spectrum than the tempo spectrum. But in Legacy Delver decks, there's like the 1-drop Wasteland Daze kind of starts where you stick a threat and then protect it and deny your opponent resources. There's also starts that are just like 2 Delvers, a Dragon's Rage Shadowler, and a Murktide Regent, and they just shove monsters into play until you're dead. That's what I'm going for here. I seem to be against Eldrazi, though. Expedition map. We can't interact with that right now. 2 maps. This would be a great match to just spike an Oculus off of a Surveil here. I don't need Polluted Delta. The 3rd Unearth, let's go. Okay. I'm going to get Watery Grave and play Frog. And I'll hope that this carries pretty hard. With the Unearths and the 2 creatures, I could cast, or I could like discard the 2 creatures and put Frog and Bowmaster into play next turn. Or I could put an Oculus into play right now. Cool. I like that. I will be attacking. Unfortunately, Kozilek's command does blow out this graveyard line, but I'm gonna make him have it, and that rules out cracking the Expedition map this turn. Kozilek's command is so annoying. I talk about it in all the videos, but giving Eldrazi an actual spell to cast is such a tilt. Okay, they did have it. Unearth fizzles. I'm gonna put the other Frog into play, though. I wonder if I should have led on Frog and see if they just exile that, and then I get the Oculus. I don't think they would have fallen for that, though. 1 ring, here we go. Welcome to Modern. Are we having fun yet? Unearth, or consider... I don't need another Bowmaster here. I don't think I really need a 4th land, but I will play it. I could Unearth... I could have shocked this in, I got the other Bowmaster. I'll think about it. They got a ring going. They're grabbing their Devourer, which must mean they have Tron. Holy smokes. Okay. This natural Tron started on double Expedition map and do not need them. It also seems like they're not going to activate this 1 ring unless I act first. And I'm not going to not, so I'll cast the spell that I have. I could have passed there with 2 Bowmasters in play before they even get a shot. Maybe I should have done that. I am going to push the damage with the Scalding Tarn because I'm not winning this game any other way. Let's get this Bowmaster in. Oh, that could have gone face. Okay, I'm spiraling out of control. I hate the 1 ring so much. I'm off it. I really hope that card gets banned. There is like the pervasive conspiracy theory online that Wizards will not ban it or cannot ban it through like some deal with the token estate or just a general pride of protecting their best-selling product of all time. But I really hope that none of those things are true. And this card is just gone in December. I still think it's fine for Legacy. I think it enables cool things in Vintage. It's probably pretty stupid in Commander too, not gonna lie. But Modern, not interested. Okay, they are drawing cards. Cleared 1 of the Bowmasters, but did need more action here. Talisman. Yep, and here's where it becomes horse hockey. I'd be fine. I mean, people have been saying this since the card was printed, like the burden counter should have gone on the player, or it would be interesting if the card was restricted, meaning you only get 1 in a deck. Like, I do think all of those things are more interesting than what we got here. I'd be fine with any of those solutions. But the card as printed is bullshit. Okay, they are drawing a card. This one can't go face. I do get a 6/6 out of this, though, which is now big enough to tangle with Devourer. They have 7 mana in the pool. Okay, can never win this game. I guess they could die to their own ring. All right, technically I have to play it out. No, Devourer kills me way faster than Ring does. All right, no, I'm good. I'm good. We could stop. Okay, Harbinger of the Seas comes in. All these consigns come in, obviously. Thoughtseize, Toxic Deluge have options. Thoughtseize will be a very bad top deck. And Thoughtseize doesn't answer a ring ripped off the top. Thoughtseize does clear things like All Is Dust and clear the way for Harbinger. I don't think I want a Toxic Deluge this deck. Fatal Push seems really bad. They seem like a more rampy central version, like the big Tron stuff going on here. Spell Snare. I saw some talismans, but I'm not going to counter those anyway. And Harbinger plus countering Talisman is a combo that keeps colorless mana out of the mix, but Consign can counter those too. Force of Negation. How many do I want of that? It does counter Ring. It does counter All Is Dust. It does not counter Eldrazi monsters. I could just stop and not bring in the Thoughtseizes and take out the 6 obvious cards for 6 other obvious cards. But I do have options on 2 more Thoughtseizes, a Force, and even some number of Toxic Deluge. How much graveyard hate do I think they're going to have? I think Shaving and Unearth is generally a pretty safe thing to do. Oh, they have freaking Kozilek's Command, obviously. Okay. They have at least that, and then they could board in more. Brought like a Progenitus, Soul Guide Lantern, whatever they got over there. I think I'm going to shave another Unearth for another Force of Negation as well, and just try to be the tempo deck. 2 Oculi, no second land. This is where this build is much worse than traditional Frogtide, because traditional Frogtide would have Preordain instead of Thoughtscour here, and instead of seeing 1 new card at random, I would see 3, and really help hit that second land drop. I don't think I can keep this hand. I'm going to mulligan. This one is much better, because I can't actually see the cards that I get to take. I'm going to bottom Murktide. Also interacting in a useful way with the Consign. Double Devourer revealed over there. Can't even consign the dig trigger, because they'll just dig anyway. I wouldn't do that. I can't imagine they kept a 0 lander, which is the only reason to do that. But even then, the land they would have found is somewhere in their top 4 cards anyway. They exiled 3 off the first one. They could just decline the second one if they already found a card they're happy with, or they could sculpt further. They did exile the full 6 off the double. And I'm going to consider first. Mist on land. Mist on land. Consider. Another Counterspell in the graveyard, and Mist on land again. Great. All right, top 5 cards in my deck just didn't include a land. I played 20. Just putting it out there. Okay, they haven't done anything yet, though. Okay, I drew a land. I am going to bolt this in and hold up my cantrips and Consign to Memory right now. Natty Tron, easy game. End step Thoughtscour me. Found a Force, end step Thoughtscour me. Found a Counterspell, milled my basic Swamp. That's pretty awkward. I'm going to have to play this game without black mana. I don't want this Murktide Regent. Okay. We have found a spot. I'm a turn behind where I'd like to be, but things are happening. Myco Spawn, Conqueso. I'm going to counter the 2 triggers. Hopefully I can beat the creature, but I can't beat this overwhelming advantage of other things. There, drew the fetch land would have represented basic swap for me. Okay, if I slam Harbinger, I can never cast Psychic Frog. Is Abhorrent Oculus enough to win the game? I can at least fetch an Undercity Sewer and get a Surveil before everything else goes to shit. I don't need to consider here. I'm going to Harbinge the Seas. They might just have a Dismember ready to go. Okay, we got into their turn, and I have Force of Negation available, and then I could stick a 5/5 next turn. 5 mana. And we know 2 of the cards in their hand are Devourers, so they basically have 4 cards in their hand right now. And they just shipped it. Nice. Thoughtseize that literally can't be cast. A Oculus. I don't think they're going to have a flash creature, but I don't want to be wrong. All right, just manifested a second Oculus. If I can untap with this Counterspell, I'm going to feel very good. Soulless Jailer. Oh, interesting. Permanent cards in graveyards can't enter. Oh, that doesn't matter. Yeah, that doesn't matter at all. Okay, never mind. I thought that was going to shut down Manifest, but that's not what that card does. Attack for 5, flying. And I'm going to pass. I can manifest the other one in the end step if I need to. Cool. Oculus doing its thing here. The One Ring. How about no? Okay, and they didn't have a Veil of Summer or anything to protect that. They're not dead yet, which means I can't flip the other Oculus yet. Gotta leave up Counterspell, but I do have them dead, and they don't know it. I have a second 5/5 I can flip up. Counterspell that as well. They appear to be passing the turn. Even got the Consign to protect. I don't know what I'm protecting from at this point, but here comes 10 in the air. That was a nice showcase of Abhorrent Oculus. Wow. Okay. Cool. I'm in. Is anything changing? We've seen Sowing Mycospawn, but we already knew they were going to have that. We did see that they brought in actual Reanimator style graveyard hate, but I already cut most of my Unearths and Unearth cycles if they happen to have that. Are any of these cards in my sideboard better than the last Unearth in my deck? I don't think Trespasser matters. Toxic Deluge has situations where it will be useful, but I am trying to play from ahead, and their creatures are going to be bigger than mine. My only big creature is Oculus and Murktide. Yeah, bringing in a 3/3 versus this deck seems completely pointless. I could bring in Mystical Dispute just as a 3-mana cancel, which doesn't work if they have Tron going, but is really good if I stick Harbinger. Do I think that's better than having access to the 1 Unearth? I don't think it is. Just wanted to talk through it. Okay, same deck. Let's go. Okay, I will keep this. Access to Basic Swamp. They have the double Devour start again. Devour that deck. Urza's Tower, Soulless Jailer, Ugin's Labyrinth deleted, and another tower. There's only 2 towers left in the deck. It's like Lord of the Rings. Oh, this Watery Grave is such a good find. I did not want to fetch Basic Swamp here, but I did want access to Basic Swamp because I do eventually want to find a Harbinger. And this just lets me do everything. Wow. This was the keep. Okay, so their hand is Devourer of Destiny and a bunch of mana. Okay, pass. That is certainly one way to play around Thoughtseize. Let's Sandmire, and I'll pass the turn. My plan is to just cast an Oculus next turn, but they have Trips Temple. Oh, yeah, they can just Devour me, actually. Oculus isn't even good. Okay, fetch. I'm just going to take damage on Watery Grave here to do the most. Scour myself first. Consider Counterspell on top. Do I want this? I think so. There is 2 more Harbingers and 1 Unearth in the deck to get that Harbinger out of my graveyard. Consign to memory, put that on top. Okay. I can set up a Oculus plus protect it with Consign next turn, knowing that they have the Devour in hand. Okay, fetch the Basic Swamp. Abhorrent Oculus. I'm going to leave Harbinger in the graveyard, make them respect Unearth, even though there's only 1 left. But it's a very good Unearth if I find it. Oh, we've got Dismember. Strong. Okay, that's fair. Maybe Murktide was a better play. Plays around Dismember there. Maybe it's fine regardless. Okay, that's a little awkward. And now I'm out of graveyard velocity. There's the forest we knew about. We're up to 4 cards in hand. I don't like it. They haven't cast any spells yet. I need to get something onto the board. That's a good one. Okay. I'm going to play this leaving up blue to counterspell a Dismember, which they did have a moment ago, but they spent it on Oculus, and now they have a forest and a bunch of shit. They're at the point where they could just hardcast All Is Dust. And calling it hardcasting is kind of weird because they're hardcasting it off Tron too, but you know, tap 7 lands to do it is what I mean. Ooh, they tried, but it will not work. Do I want to pitch the Murktide or the Counterspell here? I think I'm going to pitch the Counterspell so I can actually win this game quickly. Their hand is Devour and 1 Unknown. Scour me. And if I Scour me, I'm still holding up Consign. Yeah, that's fine. Double Consign. Okay, Murktide's in. Damage coming. Carry me home, Blood Moon homie. All Is Dust. Oh no. Is that a colorless spell? Just checking. Forgive me if I'm being sassy, but I really hate Eldrazi. And I love beating it. Yay, we did it. Yeah, having the big creature that can just bash quickly in the form of Abhorrent Oculus in this matchup did feel pretty significant compared to traditional Murktide. Good stuff. On to the next round. We're a few rounds into the video. Thanks for sticking with me. If you're having fun, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to play what I'm playing, you can order it all in one package from cardtrader.com. Use code BoshNRoll for 5% off your first order. I am on the draw for round number 4. A hand with just dopes. I don't think this hand is good, but it does have a lot of lands in it, and I like having lands. I have access to Basic Swamp plus Harbinger, and I have 2 Surveil lands to help smooth things out. Opponent is... This has to be Belcher, because no other deck would play this stupid card. Okay, good to know. This is actually kind of fun because while I am aware that Belcher is a modern deck that is back, I haven't played against it yet. I should probably look at a list while we're talking so I can provide informed commentary. Okay, they have a bunch of blue creatures that can dig deeper into their deck. They have 4 Flare of Denial to protect their combo, and then they just have Counterspell, Disrupting Stroll, and a bunch of there's 1 Force of Negation, 4 Whir of Invention, Lotus Bloom, Charbelcher. Yeah, this looks pretty normal. Okay, I understand what's going on. They are going to protect this extremely well and go off eventually. But unlike Legacy and Vintage versions of this, oh my god, we did it. We did it. Unlike Legacy and Vintage versions of this, where Belcher is a turn 1 deck, that's not what's going on here. Oh, I drew a frog. Would I rather have Frog or Oculus? I think the answer is Oculus. And doing this before their counterspells get up is nice. Force of Negation would have played there. Ooh, Orcish Bowmaster. It's so fun when you manifest an actual creature. Great mechanic. Philology Archaeologist has arrived. 2 Flare of Denials. Okay, so they definitely have a Flare of Denial in their hand to protect their combo, but they did just lose one of their precious 4 Belchers. Undercity Sewers. Otawara. That might be useful, actually. I'm going to put that on top, because if they have to play and then pass with their Belcher, that's actually a massive tempo beating. Speaking of tempo beatings, here comes 7. They certainly just block the manifest, but I can still put it in there. Ooh. They value having the counterspell up more than they value the potential that this might flip into something painful. Just taking a second look at their list to see if Harbinger matters at all. I think Harbinger actually helps their deck because then their lands come into play untapped instead of tapped. Yeah, that's not a card I'm going to be casting here. I think I just add Psychic Frog and hope that they don't come up with 7 mana this turn. And if they want to flare the frog, that's fine. That's a flare gone. And that's a graveyard full of cards that I can Oculus next turn. I'm not going to do that, though. I will not be Oculusing. I will be holding up Otawara. They did use the flare. That's gone. Unearth and Island. I'll manifest Unearth. Thundertrap Trainer. When this enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land from among it. Put it into your hand. Okay. Little Augur of Bolas for you. #1 Augur of Bolas fan all time here, navigating this channel, by the way. I love looking at the bottom 3 cards of my deck. I found a Whir, which is a very slow way to get a Belcher. And they did not develop any mana. That's huge. I'm going to get Watery Grave tapped. Still haven't drawn a Counterspell. Looking at their list, I don't see a way, or they can Whir for Lotus Bloom, but that's mana neutral. Unless I just truly don't understand how this deck works, or I'm missing something on the list, which is entirely possible, I don't think they can win here. I hope they win here and just prove me wrong. But after missing a land drop last turn, they have to somehow come up with 7 mana here. And they're done. Okay. Now the Thoughtseizes come in, the Consigns come in, Mystical Dispute, Force of Negation, just piling those up. It looks like their sideboard has Harbinger of the Seas and Defense Grid in it, but mostly just, there's not like a creature pivot or anything I need to worry about. And I'm just looking at the first list on Goldfish. It's not like I've done a deep dive to figure out if people actually have pivots or anything. It's not that important to me in this moment. If they surprise me, good job. Spell Snare does not seem to counter any card in their deck. Fatal Push, they do have some creatures, but they're mostly just to turn on counter spells. Trespasser, I don't think matters. They're not using their graveyard. Oculus was great. Bowmaster is something I can hold up counter spells and flash in. Probably looking at shaving a Murktide. They don't seem like they draw a lot of cards. I did just talk about the flash threat, which is good, but I should mostly know when it's safe to tap out. The Harbingers have to go. That's the last ones. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a pretty smooth sideboard map for this combo matchup. Let's go. A 1-lander, but it's full of juice. I am going to keep this. Tap land, no Lotus Bloom. I like it. Otawara, pass. Bleeding on Otawara should tell them I don't have any other land I could play. I just would not play that. The only other land I could have in my hand right now is Basic Swamp. But I want a cantrip or counterspell on turn 1, and Otawara has other uses. I'll scour to the graveyard, found the land we're in. I'm just going to shove Psychic Frog. Let's get to work here. That resolved. They were not ready to flare yet. They didn't have a creature, and you can't force a negation that one. They did not Disrupting Shoal it. Archaeologist. Yep, can't counter that one with what I've got. Waterlogged Teachings is the only thing they can get back here. That could be a land drop, could be a Teachings, but it's in their hand. I love that card, by the way, in all formats. Shouting it out. Banger. Polluted Delta. If I attack, I have to discard 2 cards. If I discard Oculus and Consider, I think I'm okay with that. And they might just not block because they want the counterspell available. If they don't block here, I'm going to read Flare of Denial. Okay, they did not block. I guess I can just deal 1 damage then and draw a card. My pleasure. And I drew the flash creature, which means I don't have to deploy anything. I could have discarded a frog. Like, if they had blocked, I would have discarded Consider and Oculus, and then fetch, play the other Oculus, hold up Force of Negation. They shocked in land number 4. End step. I'm going to fetch first. I don't think my life total is important here. And I'm going to play Orcish Bowmaster. Ping ya. And I'm going to Consider, which does create a window for them to resolve Teachings, but I think I'm fine with that. Dumped another Consider. Added another piece of interaction to my hand, kind of. Okay, here comes more damage than last time. They are blocking Frog. I'm going to discard Oculus and Thought Scour. That died. Sink into Stupor as a land. Play Oculus. And I'm passing with 2 counterspells up. And I don't need to cast spells for the rest of this game, unless they're counterspells. I'm going to let them teach in response. Their whole deck's blue, and they can't tutor Belcher directly with this. Got a Whir. Manifesting. I think I'm actually going to manifest the island and let them see Consign to Memory in the graveyard. I want them thinking about everything, because I don't actually have Consign. What I have is Dispute and Force. But if they see a Consign, that might plant a seed in their head of play around that in a way that plays into the other things. Whir does pitch to Disrupting Shoal to counter any of the cards in my hand. I'm just going to dispute this before they make a scene here with a burst of 3 mana. So they're actually just dead here if they don't win. I have lethal on board. Attack with all my creatures. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. With Force still up. That matchup felt phenomenal. Okay, on to the final round. I'm on the play for the final round. Positive records locked, playing for the bread and butter 4-1, and I will keep this with a bread and butter turn 2 Psychic Frog. Sewer, kick it off. Opponent kept 7. They don't have a companion. Are we going to get a whole league with no energy? Right, I don't need to put Consider on top. Putting it in the graveyard is just like casting Consider. A Plains, a Guide of Souls. Oh no, I spoke too soon. They're just companionless. This. Hate it, but okay. I'm just gonna lead on Psychic Frog and try to have the best creature. Static Prison. I don't have the best creature. Hub. Hubba hubba. Jeez, what a good start. Okay. I need to mill over an Oculus or find a Fatal Push pretty quick here. Oh, no, they get another entry. I was about to say they spent all their energy on that, but of course they get one right away. That's how these cards work. Alrighty, I didn't draw a Swamp, which means I don't want to jam Harbinger this season, hope it works. I don't think it would work anyway as a plan. I'm gonna fetch Shock first, because I want to see all these cards in a straight line. Consider. Dump the other Consider. Found Counterspell, too late for that. Scour myself, please flip an Oculus. Okay, that's not an Oculus. It is a Bowmaster, which clears the Ocelot Pride at least. Got something going. Okay. Not the worst turn I could have had. The main deck Harbinger is quite a swing, though, especially as a 2-of. Like, it's cool to be in the Reanimator package, but we have equally split this league between matchups where it's insane and matchups where it is Garbo, and probably hurts me more than it hurts them. Okay, they played a Static Prison and then didn't do anything with it. That's interesting. Do I want to trade with this cat? I don't think so. Oh, they took the the token. That's what happened. I looked away for 1 second, and there was that thing in play. Oh. Wish I could fetch a swamp here, because this is almost a pretty cool sequence. And I can push this Guide of Souls, though, and we are just chilling under a counterspell. Their energy that could get this, that could keep the Psychic Frog locked down is slowly ticking away. And they missed a land drop. Their hand is all spells right now. We'll see if those spells are any good in the coming turns. Okay, Fatal Push happens, and I will leave Bowmaster back in case they dash a Ragavan or something like that. I don't want to let that just be. I don't want to have to use a counterspell on something like that I have covered otherwise. And I can ignore this cat token for a little while. Okay, didn't pay for the prison that had nothing under it. Smart play. Amped Raptor. I don't want anything to happen here. This also cancels out the energy they would have got, which means Psychic Frog is coming back next turn unless they have another hub right now. And I think I would rather cast Consider off of a basic than tap fetch for a Surveil land here. That just sees more cards and does mostly the same thing. Consider... Oh, Delta is the swamp I was looking for. I'll put that on top. And it's not a hard lock. They have 2 planes in play, but they are a red deck. And now I have a 2/2 in front of their 1/1, so Bowmaster could get a taste. Psychic Frog's coming back this turn unless they could get energy at instant speed. Okay. Land One Ring. I'm ready. I'm ready to tilt off into the sun over this otherwise cool game, ending with a One Ring. They got a prison. What are they most scared of now? Harbinger. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that creates the window where they could get a basic mountain and then they don't care anymore. All right, all right. All right, all right. That was a good sequence. At least it wasn't the One Ring. I'm not gonna be completely enraged. Can't quite save this thing. And I am taking one from the cat after all. Good draw, big draw. Ooh, the Reharbinging. It begins. Okay, Reharbinge. That locks Flage in the graveyard. All right, Bowmaster, get a taste, buddy. I'm not in a spot where I can play around taking one. I gotta start winning this game somehow. This is where they jam a basic mountain from their hand, Flage me out, and it's over. One Ring, basic mountain, all bad. Gabo Bombarbo. Gee, come on. These are the last 2 cards in your hand? These are the cards you have? Am I just dead? I take 1. Then a Johnny deals 2 to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm at 1. I'm at 1. Okay. It's tight around here. 5. And Boros Energy is so good. I actually think this strategy would be fun and interesting if it didn't have access to the ring. Like if it was just this super cool synergistic aggro deck that if you get the creatures under control, you're okay. Oculus, too slow. What can I do here? I can attack a Johnny. They have to block with at least 1. Attack a Johnny. Oh, right. The Goblin Bombardment. I didn't account for that. I'm already dead. Yep. Forgot about that one. In combat, I would have been at 1 with Abhorrent Oculus making stuff happen, but right. Even their chump blocks deal damage. Toxic Deluge comes in here. Graveyard Trespasser comes in. It's just kind of big. Passive life gain. Interacts with Flage. Not a lot of sideboard for this matchup in this build of the deck. Force of Negation can check the ring box and let me play the game outside of that. They are a Blood Moon deck. I don't think I want to make Harbinger even part of a plan. The high roll on the Unearth seems to be what I'm supposed to be doing. That is my power in this matchup. And in traditional Frogtide, I would cut some number of Preordains in this matchup. Maybe Force of Negation is just dumb and I shouldn't be messing around with that. Just big creatures and bashing. Let my counterspells do the work. Okay, here we go. I do like the components of this hand. I will keep. I do have to say, this list having 2 Toxic Deluges in it is kind of a tilt because IRL, where I'm trying to play this deck this weekend, I only have 1 Retro Border Toxic Deluge. I have plenty of this card, but I apparently only ordered 1 of the retros when I had the chance. Hey, I could take damage to Thought Scour, or I could Surveil. I'm going to take damage to Thought Scour. Roll those dice. Milled over Unearth. That was the opposite of what's supposed to happen. Another Consider. I'm going to play this Swamp and pass the turn. Arena of Glory. Scary. Gombo Bombarmbo. Are they going to attack into a Bowmaster? They did not. Couldn't be fooled. I'll just cast Consider then. Counterspell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fetches 6. I can take the Counterspell and still cast Oculus next turn. Fetch my basic island, just saving damage here, and cast Big Stupid. And if they kill it, I could unearth it someday. But I'm getting at least one 2/2 out of it. Hopefully that 2/2 is also an Oculus. Ooh, okay. I will take the bonus Oculus over the Frog, and if my opponent is dialed in, they will recognize that I just put something face down that's better than Psychic Frog. And I mentioned it briefly in the Eldrazi matchup. Toxic Deluge is very good when your creatures are bigger than theirs, if it kills their things and you get to keep stuff, versus just having to do the max at all times. My Oculus. Jesus. The Johnny plus Goblin Bombardment is so fucked. What a powerful interaction. I mean, it's so cool. I actually like this interaction. It's so cool that they figured this out, and that Goblin Bombardment is in the format now. Thanks, Modern Horizons 2. It sucks that I'm losing my Oculus. I just killed 2 Oculi in one turn and generated 5 energy from 0. Powerful stuff. And what also happened here, which is even more important, is their board, the Planeswalker, just beats Toxic Deluge. Like, if I deluge for 4 here, they just ping me for 2. I take 6, and then they're just back in business. This is a nightmare. I could try to scour my way into an Unearth right now. I think I have to do that. This is Johnny being in play is just devastating. Well, it's not Unearth. It is a 4/4 Murktide Regent that is just dead to the board. Activate a Johnny, throw a cat at it. Game. Gross. Yeah, I think I'm just going to pass. I just can't do anything. If I Bowmaster the cat, they sack the cat and deal 1 to me, and I don't get an Orc army because the ability fizzles. Guess I have to counter this. I just can't beat another one of these in play. I can't beat anything. I don't think this game is winnable from here. I would have almost preferred the One Ring to having the Ajani plus removal last turn. And I actually can't cast Toxic Deluge anymore. What a mess. Yeah, I needed that Abhorrent Oculus to hold the board while I cast my spells. This Toxic Deluge just was already invalidated on turn 3. Fascinating. Yeah, all they have to do is play a creature or do nothing. Yeah, unwinnable. Wow, that was a beating. Okay. A positive record. Lost to Urza combo, which I'm always happy with. We also lost to Boros Energy, the best deck in the format. And I did have Counterspell in my hand when I went for that Abhorrent Oculus. I just thought that that would overpower what they were doing that turn. Like, they either spend the turn answering it and I get a 2/2 left behind, or they add to the board and I have a 5/5. But they actually just did both, and in a way that my sweeper was completely irrelevant. Just insane stuff. Maybe patience is key. Or I could just slot more answers to that deck in my sideboard somewhere. Okay, but this deck feels good. There were spots where it felt, the Oculus plan felt better than traditional Murktide with more counterspells and interaction and just a slower game plan in general. There were spots where I would have rather had Subtlety and Force of Negation in my deck, and the Oculus wasn't that good. There's a lot being asked of your graveyard between the Oculus, the Murktide, and the Unearth, but it seems like the Thoughtscour Consider double Surveil land package does provide enough. I was able to use my graveyard more than I was unable to use it, is basically what I'm saying. I do like this deck. I like the play patterns of Thoughtseize and Counterspell, then sticking a threat. I'll probably be digging over lists in the next couple days before my event to see if there's any sideboard tech that really jumps out to me as something I want to be invested in. But I like it. I like the Dimir Murktide shell, whether it's traditional or Oculus. They're both good. I hate the One Ring. I hope it's gone in December. I wouldn't be sad if they took something out of Boros Energy with it. But this is the format we have right now, and I have a 20K to play in this weekend. Everybody, thanks for watching. CardTrader.com, thanks for sponsoring the video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon, order some cards from Card Trader, use code BoshNRoll, and I'll see you next time.